Welcome to the Zero Chaos Brief. I'm Scott Ives, and every Monday we cover one leadership concept. This week, nobody wants to lead anymore. That's our subject today. Only 6% of Gen Z, which is people born 1997 to 2012, only 6% of them aspire to be senior leader roles. Nearly 70% of young professionals say that middle management is high stress and low reward. I get it. And 71% of leaders across every level report increased stress from their roles. Those numbers don't surprise me. They shouldn't surprise anybody. But what does surprise me is that no one's talking about what's actually missing from those conversations. Right? So think about it. Why do leaders check out? Right? For me, the leaders that I've known who check out, who become those yes men or yes women, who stop fighting for their people, they're not the frontline managers, right? They're the executives. It's not because they're weak, it's because they have so much distance between them. Let me explain. The further that a leader gets from the customer, the further they get from the consequences of their decisions. So a frontline manager, right, they feel it immediately when a policy doesn't work. An executive, though, making those decisions and those policies, they never see that fallout because they're only measuring their success in spreadsheets, not the conversations that are happening after that decision's made. So policies get made that don't work for people executing them. And the managers fight to take care of their teams, to take care of their customers, but they keep hitting walls. And eventually they just stop asking why. They start passing down information. That is the moment a leader stops being worth following. Also, every Monday is a new brief on YouTube and Spotify. So if this resonates, make sure you follow. Now with leadership, there's always a specific sign that I look for. It's not performance metrics. It's not their tenure. It's whether a leader still asks questions. So when something comes down from above, it could be a policy, a directive, or just a change that doesn't make sense on the ground. A leader worth following asks why. They push back with the perspective of their people and their customers, right? They translate, they protect. The leader who has checked out, they don't ask. They just execute, right? They pass it down. They become a conduit for decisions they don't believe in, and then they wonder why their teams lose trust in them, right? Ego does that. The need to appear aligned, to not rock the boat, just to protect your title. That's what turns a leader into a yes man, yes woman. Once you make that trade, your team feels it though before you do. Now, if this resonates again, share it. I publish a new leadership insight every Monday, and your share helps more people find it. So here's what nobody is saying, right? The version of leadership that burns people out, that's not real leadership. That's compliance management with a title, right? Real leadership, servant leadership, leading with empathy, actually listening. It doesn't feel like a burden. It feels more like a purpose. And the difference comes down to one question. Are you measuring your success by your title or by the people you help become better? The answer to that question showed up very early, very clearly in my admissions career. So again, early on in my admissions career, I got promoted to an associate director. One of the people on my brand new team, only been there for about 3 or 4 months, I believe, was about to be let go, right? On a final write-up, on the way out the door. I got to sit down with her not to deliver any bad news or verdict, but I wanted to understand. So we talked. We talked about her life, her family, what was actually going on. What I found out is she wasn't a bad employee. She just never been properly trained on the standards that she was being held to. So we fixed it. We met every week. I asked her questions all the time instead of just giving the answers. I wanted her to be able to find them herself. And after this time, a year later, right, I got to promote her to a team lead. A year after that, I left the role and she got promoted to take over as associate director. So that's the feeling no one talks about. Watching someone who was almost let go become the person who takes your seat. That moment is why leadership is worth it. Not the authority, not the compensation. Compensation does have a part, but the people, right? But leadership, it's not one size fits all. The version of leadership that burns people out is built on ego, on the assumption that because something comes easy to you, it should come easy to everybody, right? Servant leadership starts with the opposite assumption. People are not inherently bad. They don't fail because they don't care. They fail because they're not trained, or they're not heard, or nobody sat down with them and asked them what's actually going on and listened. So active listening is not just a soft skill, it's an operational tool. The leader who listens finds the problems before they turn into crises. The leader who doesn't, they listen to that echo of their own assumptions until the system just breaks. Leadership is worth it, but only the version where the people in front of you are the measurement of your success, not the title behind you. So the one thing this week is to think about someone who's on your team, who's struggling, and think about it. Have you asked what's actually going on? Their life, their training, their obstacles. Do you know them, really know them? Or have you only measured the gap between where they are and where they're supposed to be? The answer to that question tells you everything about the kind of leader you're being right now. And I'm not saying everybody's bad. I think we all go through different stages. Now, if you got something out of this, subscribe on our YouTube, follow me on Spotify. There's a new brief out every Monday, right? Drop a comment. What's something or a moment, I would say, where someone gave you a chance that you didn't expect as a leader? And remember, you don't eliminate chaos, you learn to lead through it. That's the brief.